all right. Guess who's back? Back
We're
again.
back.
We are back. Matcha cheers. First things first. We got to keep it.
New location.
New location.
Are we on
Yes.
camera? Doesn't matter.
We cheers.
This is my first matcha in a very long time.
You know, honor that you wait for me to have matchas together. He literally takes it as a shot. I wish you could see the gulp that he just threw it back. You okay there?
It was the milk.
You missed us. You missed us. All right. Well, we're back. Khaled.
Yes,
This is like, I don't know. I'm going to call it season 3.
it must be.
It has to be.
Like a 6-month hiatus.
Yeah,
so.
literally. And I just wanted to take a moment because if it wasn't for the people sending me those DMs, like, when are you filming? When are you getting back? I probably wouldn't have been so keen on coming back. We took a break. We were never going to quit on you guys, but we definitely took a break.
I don't think we meant to take a break.
We didn't.
But
Life happened.
Life happens.
But the good thing is you got to experience some life in order to talk about a podcast, you know?
Exactly.
So we got some content coming in for you guys for this
Some
season.
life experiences.
Big time. But a shout out to everyone who has been liking, sharing, subscribing to the channel on YouTube and, you know, listening to Spill the Matcha, even the older stuff that we had. And without you guys, this wouldn't exist.
We
So
should do a new photo. Like a new...
yes, we'll update. We'll update the content a little bit.
Rebrand.
We got to rebrand us. But honestly, big shout out to all of you. And if you love what you're seeing, please like and subscribe to the channel. And as always, you can follow me on Life with Adele for my day-to-day shenanigans, because the shenanigans have been shenaniganing. If you've been following me on Instagram, you know the girl is living life.
That's probably why we haven't done a podcast.
Exactly,
in so
because
long, right?
life has been really exciting these days. And you know what? It was great. I sent out, you know, the usual question on my stories about what you guys wanted me to talk about this season. Some really good questions. I can't wait to dive right in. But the first one I'm going to do is I'm going to actually combine 2 of these questions together. 2 people wanted me to talk about a solo trip, the solo trips that I've been taking, and Auckland. So since my most like recent, you know, solo trip has been to Auckland, I'm like, why not take a moment to kind of circle back.
That's the most recent.
This is the most recent one, but we've
been
had a
doing
few.
We've had a few.
She has had a
A
few.
few months of travel between us. So.
Yes, and they've been blessings, honestly. And ever since Bali, first of all, I want to give a shout out to Adele a year ago. I want to give her the biggest hug right now, because without her getting on an airplane and doing that first solo trip, I would not have ever had this kind of bravery and encouragement to do it again. So when I was on this most recent solo trip, I literally gave myself the biggest hug. And I'm like, thank you for being so brave. Thank you for bringing us here, because it is such an eye opener, such an experience. I did talk about it in my previous podcast about my solo trip, but I do want to talk about a few things that actually happened in the background of the solo trip that no one really knew about. So I went to Auckland, New Zealand. Beautiful.
Kia ora.
Kia ora, exactly. The Maori way
gotta do
of
the nose thing, you know.
Yes, exactly. Just nose. But it was just the most epic trip that was so unexpected. So why did I go to Auckland of all places? The
Good
girls,
question. That was my first question.
everyone was just like, Auckland.
I was like, bro, I've been to Auckland.
Okay, this is what I wanted to start with. Everyone, honestly, when I said Auckland,
Trashed Auckland though.
just demolished it. And I was like, I had a moment where I was like, am I going to the right place? Like, it was for a concert. It was for the Travis Scott concert. So the guy was playing in Auckland. I wasn't about to go south or north of New Zealand and then go to the concert for one day. I was literally like, let me be local. Let me just be central to where the concert's going to be, because I don't know anything in New Zealand. But lesson learned, don't tell people your plans, because sometimes they just shit all over Like, it's just, everyone was like, Auckland.
My one, I told you, I like Auckland, but it was my experience in Auckland that tarnished Auckland for me. Is because I had to stay there for like another week after a football tournament that we
Yes, that's true.
we
Okay,
lost
I
in the
remember.
first, like in the group stage. So we had the whole another week in case we made the finals. So we had a whole week in Auckland. We were staying not in central Auckland, like we were a little bit out south. So it was far away.
From
So we
everything.
travel to Auckland every day, and we're from Sydney. So it's like, bro, the viaduct is like Darling Harbour. Yeah, I'm on the
Other side of the
mainland,
island.
The mainland.
Exactly. But lesson learned, honestly,
It's
like,
a nice place.
it's beautiful.
Yeah,
but
it's
everyone
beautiful.
was just like, why are you going to
People are
Auckland?
really nice in Auckland.
The sweetest, the nicest. And everyone was just like, if there's nothing to do, there's nothing to see. I was like, wow. If you go on my Instagram, I think I proved that wrong. I think I proved the point that there is a lot to do and see around Auckland. I didn't really stay in Auckland. I did do day trips and everything. But I went for the Travis Scott concert. That was number one. I looked up all of his schedule for his concerts. And it just so happened that the only time that I was off of work and he was performing was in Auckland. So I got an excuse basically to go to New Zealand, which is something that I probably wouldn't have done had it not been for this concert. So shout out to Travis Scott. Thank you so much for bringing your girl out all the way to Auckland. Are we popping off?
Oh, good. I can hear some popping. That's
Okay.
all good.
Yeah.
Audio guy.
So whenever something is just calling to you, sometimes you got to pick up, even if it's Auckland. So that was one thing that happened. Another thing that happened that was absolutely wild. I think the universe was testing me throughout this trip, and it was a trip because I was put into situations. This is completely backstage. No one knew that this was happening. Very few people in my circle knew that this was happening to me, but things were happening behind the scenes that I was like, oh my goodness, am I even meant to go to this place right now? First of all, I had my privilege checked because, USA passport holder. I just think I can waltz in to any country that I like and get visa upon arrival. And the New Zealand's like, no.
Maybe now Trump's in office. Maybe you got a good chance. Who knows?
Hopefully I can go back to America. Let's just say that. Let's just put that out there.
Lebanon? From Lebanon?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. We're not on the good list. Anyways, so I'm like, hunky dory. Like I'm about to rock up to New Zealand and present my passport and get a visa upon arrival. No, I was about to check in. I was checking in on Qatar Airways. And all of a sudden, they're like, make sure that you have all the entry, documents and requirements necessary. And I'm like, you know what? I'm curious. Let's go online and see what the travel requirements are.
Curiosity served you.
That was curiosity and nothing else, because I was about to get the shock of my life had I just rocked up to check in and been like, hi, I'd like to board this airplane. And they're like, no, you need to apply for a visa. PSA, UK people, American people, wherever you are from the world.
Not Australians.
Make it make sense. You guys don't even like each other, okay? Like, make that make sense.
Not Australians.
Not Australians, though. But, us low lives, that like peasants at this point. I'm just like, okay, so I apply. I like literally applying online. And then it gives me a message, may take up to 72 hours for approval. And I'm like, I'm getting on an airplane in 15. What do you mean I will have 72 hours? So the girl picks up her phone and she's like calling literally the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I'm talking to New Zealand at this point, freaking out. And the guy was so nice.
Chill.
Because, as all
New
New
Zealanders
Zealanders
are
are,
chill.
so chill.
Yeah, very
He's like,
chill.
you'd be so surprised of how often this happens. And I'm like, wow, these Americans,
Yeah, entitled.
giving us a bad rep. Anyways, he's like, maximum you get to check in and they're going to call border control and they're basically going to like approve you at the check-in counter. And I'm like, this doesn't sound promising.
Nah, it's better. Like, to be fair, down that way, when they deal with things, they deal with them properly. So
Yeah,
you were safe.
Yeah, but I wasn't feeling safe. At
Yeah,
that
I mean,
point.
coming from here.
Exactly. Because I'm like, what if the check-in person's like, I don't want to call border control for you,
I'm gonna credit.
And I'm just like, okay. So at this point, I was like, this was test number one. This is where Adele had two options. And you know what? This is an opportunity for me to practice what I've been preaching plus trying to practice. So like I'm in my meditation, you know, calming myself down. I was at a point where I was like, this is out of my hands. If I'm meant to go to New Zealand, everything is going to work out. So I just chilled. I packed my bags. I put them next to the door. I got in my Uber and I was on my way to the airport. Lo and behold, I cannot even make this up if I wanted to. Pulling up to Hamad International Airport and I get the ping on my email that I got approved for the visa 15 hours later. Okay, like he was like,
it's
it's
better
supposed-
than 72.
Yeah, but like it was like it'll take 20 minutes. No, the universe wanted me to wait and wanted to test
But that was
me.
your test. That was
a
your
test.
Yeah.
Passed the first test. So that
Exactly.
was check number one. I get on the airplane, 17 hours, land in Auckland, ping, another email shows up. This one almost gave me a heart
Heart
attack.
palpitations.
I got an email from Ticketmaster that the Travis Scott concert was rescheduled in Auckland. Now, no date was on the first initial, and I'm like, this can go either one of
gotta
two
scroll
ways.
down, you know.
Yeah, no. There was a moment where I'm like, if this has been rescheduled to the next day, I don't even get to go to this concert.
You'd rather say cancelled. You would have rather be cancelled.
I would have rather it be canceled at that point. So,
No one gets to see him.
No one gets to see him. I don't get to see him. No one gets to see him. Anyways, so I'm like, okay, I'm like shaking, opening up this email, and I press the email, and it's like the day before on Wednesday.
That's so strange. Like when he said that, I was like,
That's never happened.
I don't know. I'm not familiar, but do things get moved?
Postponing is
Yeah,
usually
that makes sense.
later. This is rescheduled prior.
It was probably because there was like a basketball NBA game or something, and he's like, I want to make that game.
He was in Australia. He was not going anywhere, okay? Like, this guy was in Australia for the, 4 concerts that he did in Australia. He had one in Auckland. He had one assignment, okay? So this is what happened. It was moved from Thursday to Wednesday. Had it been moved from Thursday to Friday, I wouldn't have been able to see him. So that was what. But historically, we're about to go down a history lesson here. Travis Scott has canceled his Auckland concert. He had one concert back in 2016 for Astroworld, and he canceled it the day before. So my schizophrenic mind starts going off on every tangent, and it's like he reschedules it so he can cancel it again.
Nah.
That was my conspiracy theory.
You know what? If you had one thing to ask Travis Scott right now, it'd be, why did you postpone?
Why did you
What,
reschedule?
what was the reason?
Why?
NBA game.
He's in Australia. He's not even in America. There's no NBA game. I need to know.
Maybe he wanted to make it back in LA, but I don't
Listen,
know.
I want, you know what?
Oh, he's from
Travis?
Houston, isn't it? Yeah,
He's from Houston.
That's right.
If you want to, we could talk off air. I want to know what's happening because you were saved by by God's grace. Because me and my brother were literally messaging each other, and then he was like, Adele, if he cancels, go on a rant, and I was about to Kanye West.
Should have done it anyway. Maybe you would have felt bad and been like, you know what? I'm going to fly this girl out and
No.
all expenses.
By the way, everyone was very upset because I don't know if you know New Zealand. New Zealand, people are coming from all over New Zealand. People have booked flights to get into Auckland.
Yeah, New Zealand's not a small
It's
place.
not a small place. So people are coming from the south, from the north, and they've booked flights for the night that he had originally planned. And then we get this email a few days before saying that he rescheduled. That's flights changed.
Yeah.
That's hotel bookings changed.
Usually if you're from New Zealand, you're coming from Wellington, Christchurch,
Yeah.
any other place, you'd only book for that day. You know what I mean? If I
Exactly.
was there, I would only book for that night and then
100%.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
100%.
So in essence, it was a little bit of a blessing that you're coming from so far away.
Yes.
Because you're like, okay, I can't just do one day.
Exactly. I'm here, right?
I got to do a few.
17 hours. The girl flew for you, Travis. So if he had canceled, it would have been Kanye off of his meds. I was ready to go viral for the girl that was unhinged at the Travis Scott concert.
Because Auckland is the central point of New Zealand. So whenever there's events and stuff, it's
going to
always
be
in
there.
Auckland. Yeah.
It's going to be there. So thankfully, and then, you know what? And then I had another moment. I was like, Adele, trust. If this is meant for you to have, for you to go to this concert's not going to be canceled. And alhamdulillah, it was the day before. It wasn't the day after. It was the day before. There's a reason for that. And then while I was on the tour to Hobbiton, this is crazy. Was like the randomest thing that happened. I'm on the tour to Hobbiton. The tour guide that was with us is an aviation fanatic. He's an aviation fanatic. Wait.
There's such thing?
Apparently in New Zealand there is. Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen. But this is what the crazy fact was. We were just introducing ourselves. And I said, like, you know, I'm here, I'm visiting. I flew out 17 hours to Auckland. He's like, why? And I was like, for the Travis Scott concert. He's like, oh, his jet just landed in no, listen, I can't make this up. What? It was like he was sent from the universe to kind of tell me, chill, girl.
Brother, how did this guy know?
It's the jet. It's his jet. Because it's a one-of-one jet. He doesn't really see it in the airspace. This guy. At least you knew he was there. No, but that was the blessing. I was like, oh, what are the chances that the tour guide is an aviation fanatic? That literally.
It's not even his job. The guy's in air traffic control. It's not even his job.
No.
He's doing Hobbit tours.
The random. I can't.
Let's show me how he looked.
He was nice. Had a kind face. He had a kind
very
face.
Diplomatically
put. Kind face. But like, he looks like a guy that has very one-off hobbies.
I mean, brother, the guy does Hobbit tours for a living.
No, in all fairness, he's the guy that drove us to the Hobbit tour. Okay. He's the one that takes us.
I thought he's the guy that shows you, well, this is when Frodo...
Listen, that was a beautiful tour, okay? No, anyways, so the randomest thing is as if he was sent to me. I can't even make this up to tell me that Travis Scott has landed in Auckland, and I was
crying.
I'm crying. This is what happened.
I want to meet this guy.
He was just one of one.
Yeah.
One
He's
of
just
one.
a driver as well.
Yeah. But that's his thing. He loves to look at aviation, and without him, at that point,
we need these guys to be pilots.
100%.
I need a pilot that's like over enthusiastic about
that's enthused.
That's Travis Scott to your right, and his private jet's like landing in Auckland.
Exactly.
That's like some. Did you ask him how he knew that?
Listen, I was just this man was sent to me.
He was just happy.
He was sent to me from the universe. He was like, everything's gonna be okay. This man put like my blood pressure went down, my stress went down. I was able to enjoy Hobbiton for the rest of my day.
That's the place of enjoyment,
Exactly. But it was one of those moments where I was like, okay, that's another test off the list. Another moment that I really wanted to share with you that was very special to me was when I was in Hobbiton. And I wanted to share a story with you. So
for you guys that don't know what Hobbiton is,
it's from the Lord of the Rings. So I'm a very big Lord of the Rings fan, and I wanted to actually explain why. Lord of the Rings had played a big role when I was in middle school. I grew up in a school that was very like two ethnicities. You were either Hispanic or you were Filipino, and then there was Adele, who's Lebanese. No one else was.
What about white and black people?
No.
Really?
A private Catholic school, apparently all the Latinos and the Filipinos. Because they're Catholic. So I'm literally one of one. Didn't have friends. It was very hard for me to make friends because they had their own kind of cliques.
Yeah.
Makes sense, right? Anyways, when Lord of the Rings came out, I was around 5th and 6th grade, and I became a huge fan of Lord of the Rings. And I was reading the books, watching the movies. And one time during recess, I remember this moment so vividly. I was reading my book, Lord of the Rings, and a group of girls approached me and they're like, "You like Lord of the Rings?" And I said, "Yeah, I love Lord of the Rings." And did you watch the movies? I could quote the movies. Like, give me any scene, I can give you the quotes. Anyways, because of Lord of the Rings, I found my group of friends in middle school. Middle school is a tough place. I don't know if you guys have ever been to school outside of the bubble of Doha. Outside, it's a place where, you're growing into yourself. We're awkward. We look awkward.
You don't know yourself.
We don't know ourselves, but we're like establishing who we are. And I was a Lord of the Rings girly. And when I went to Hobbiton, I almost was like paying a pilgrimage to this place, a thank you for giving me friends. I know this sounds wild, but there was a moment where I did get very emotional and I gave sixth grade Adele the biggest hug because I feel like that healed something in me. Like this movie, this era in history, Middle Earth gave me a group of friends that I stayed friends with till eighth grade. And then now we're still Instagram friends. Like we still follow each other on Instagram, but like that was a big moment for me. And it was such a pivotal moment in my life that I never forgot, but it was on the back of my head. And then when I went to Hobbiton, all of these emotions just surfaced. And it was one of those things I was like, thank you, Lord of the Rings. Thank you to the J.R. Tolkien, to Peter Jackson, like for making these movies and like bringing it into my life. Because truthfully, before Lord of the Rings, I didn't know where I was, where I belonged, what I liked. And then Lord of the Rings came along and it just opened up that portal for me. So that was one of those moments in Hobbiton where it was just a very wholesome moment in my life. And again, gave my younger self the biggest hug, and also and she gave me the hug where it's like, thank you for taking us here and allowing this moment to happen. It was just a beautiful moment. And that was just another moment in my solo trip that was like, wow, what a blessing that was. Then skydiving. I don't know if you guys remember from my previous solo trip episode when I was talking about my hike to Mount Batur in Bali and literally my deathly fear of heights. Do you remember that? When I was in Bali last year and I was like, I need to get over my fear of heights. I went on a hike and I like felt like I conquered it. Well, I reconquered it in Auckland. After the Travis Scott.
Auckland's a good spot to go skydiving.
Yeah. So after Travis Scott, I was on high. The girl was on a high. I wake up at 5 a.m. on this like adrenaline kick. And I book my skydiving trip at 5 a.m. in the morning for 10 a.m. There was no going back. You get no refunds, by the way. If you book a skydiving, there's no refunds. You're like...
You can rebook, though.
You can rebook. But it was my last day. There was no rebooking this. This was like, this is now or never. So, deathly afraid of heights. And Adele thinks it's a good idea to like, let's go skydiving.
What did you think? I like to hear this because like...
I have never been so calm in my life.
It's not what you expect it to be, right?
No, but like the lead up to it.
Yeah, that's the scariest part.
Let me tell you something. I was in my Zen mode. Adele's practice, whatever I've been doing for the past like 3 years of my life, all came into fruition in this 1 week.
10 minutes.
No, but in this 1 week of New Zealand, all these tests were like, how calm can you be? How much can you actually practice what you've been practicing in real life?
Throw at you
100%, and you can still stay zen. So I walk in 30 minutes early to the. I don't know why. I like to be punctual, but really, I don't know. Maybe it was the
Just
nerves.
to double check the parachutes and stuff. Guys, have you done the checks?
Have you checked this thing? No. I was there, and like the guy was like, "How are you feeling?" And I was like, "I'm excited." Use the word excited because I need to verbally
convince yourself.
100%. What you say to yourself is so important. So I'm like, I'm excited. He's like, any nerves? I'm like, I think it's both, but I'm going to focus more on the excitement, you know?
You could be nervous and excited or nervous and anxious.
And it's actually all the same feeling.
Exactly.
They're all the same.
Viscerally, physiologically, it's the same response.
Excitement, nerves, and anxiety are all the same. Even fear. Even that fear, the fight or flight mechanism that is like
sympathetic nervous system.
100%. It was activated, and my body didn't know which one it was. So I'm like, I'm gonna go with excited, you know. Anyways, he's like, all right, is this your first time? I'm like, it's my first time. Didn't talk about my fear of heights. Didn't talk nothing. I was like, first time, cool, calm, collected. He showed me around, showed me the jumpers, showed me some people who were jumping like previous to us, and all of this was I'm still breathing. I'm doing my I'm breathing. Deeply.
You're alive.
Yes,
You're alive.
Very deeply. Yeah. Anyways, there's a bunch of people with us in the airplane. These people are not okay. I was reading the energy and the energy.
Let me tell you something.
Haram. Like, I'm like trying not to have their mood affect my mood. I'm in the front, so I'm the last person that's about to jump. I'm like the first person next to the pilot, which is amazing. By the way, a single engine airplane is an experience on its own.
Yeah, I mean, the scariest part of my skydiving experiences has been the plane.
I actually
I've had
loved
to get
it.
in, but it looks like it's gonna fall.
Like it's like a
apart.
rickshaw.
Yeah, like there's no doors, bro.
Nothing. And your ears, because
Yeah.
it's not pressurized.
And you're not going super high, so
Yeah. So your ears are in this limbo place where they're just like pop, pop, pop. And you're just like, wow, this is like, okay. And then, my jumper has the watch that kind of tells them like how many feet up in the air we are. He's like, look, it's 9,000. I'm like, yay. Excitement. Living the excitement, right? 10, 11, 12. I did the 13,000.
13, yeah.
And all of a sudden, okay, like the door opens and the first person goes, second person, and then I'm just okay. I'm okay. Like feet dangling from the airplane, ready. I've never been so calm. Idel has never been this calm in her life. I was so locked in. And then he was just like 3, 2, 1, boom. That initial fall
that's the best part.
was the best part.
Because you think it feels like falling, but actually you're flying.
We're flying.
Yeah, you're
no.
flying.
That was the most, like those first 10 seconds.
The free fall.
But the free fall was around 30 to 45 seconds because it was so cute. Well, I'll tell you, it was really cute because it was a cloudy day. He's like, we're going to fall into a cloud. I'm like, stop. Stop it. Are we going to really be inside a cloud? He's like, yeah. So I've been looking at these clouds in New Zealand. By the way, New Zealand clouds look fake. Like the clouds are so low
Because it's mountainous.
that you just feel like you could touch them.
Yeah.
So I love these clouds so much. I jumped into one. Like that's what I like to tell people. But like it was one of those things. That first fall, I was flying. I was happy. I was genuinely smiling from my soul because that was another moment where little girl Adele gave big Adele a big hug. And she's like, wow, you put me, young Adele, through something that I would have never been brave enough to do years and years ago. I'm talking like 10, 15 years ago. That version of Adele would have never, ever thought that Adele today would ever take her skydiving. And it was another moment where when I got down, emotional, adrenaline, a lot of adrenaline was pumping through my veins, but I gave myself a big hug and I was like, thank you for being so brave of conquering this fear that it's a real fear, but I was just conquering it through my practice, my mind, my breathing exercises, convincing myself you're excited, you're not nervous. Focus on the excitement instead of the nerves. And it was the most beautiful experience. Those 45 seconds of a free fall, they don't end. People say it goes by fast. For me, I think I was just so in the moment that I was like, wow, I'm in the cloud. The cloud was just white all around me, cold, like precipitation on your face. Like, I'm like, where am I? Like space and time no longer existed when I was in this cloud. And then when we reached the bottom of the cloud, that's when he put the parachute up. And then he's like, look to your right. And all I could see was the sea line. And then look to your left. All I could see was just green for days. And I was like, what an immaculate, like, this is what birds look like. See, I'm like a bird today. Like I am literally, how many times in my life am I going to be able to get this version of planet Earth? It was amazing. Like that was, I think, one of the biggest highlights of my trip was just conquering that fear, skydiving, living that experience for little Adele and big Adele. And it was also like just a magical place. New Zealand is just so one of one. I can't compare it to anything else. Everyone's like, oh yeah, well, there's a lot of places that are green. The shades of green.
No, New Zealand is definitely unique.
50,000 shades of green, not even 50 shades of green. I've never known that green could come in so many shades. And you're on a freeway, on a highway, and you look to your right and left, lambs, sheep. It was lambing season. Oh, the baby lambs just tumbling down like rolling hills because they're trying to walk and they're eating grass, and then cows and then horses. And I'm like, I'm on a freeway and I'm looking at lambs. What?
You know, some part of me says like, isn't that the way we're supposed to live? Like,
I'm going to talk about that. You know what happened on my tour? They were talking about how like New Zealand is trying to get their natural resources out of the ground and start using, because this is a fun fact. They use wind and water and solar panels to do most of their energy. It's very clean energy in New Zealand because most of their gas is imported. So they try to use as much of the land as they can. And they're sitting here trying to talk to me about how they want to excavate their natural gases and their coal. And I'm like, guys, well, hold up. We're trying to get to you guys. We're trying to go green. You want to go, don't go back
industrialize.
Don't industrialize this. Please stop. He's like, well, there's a delicate balance. There's no balance. Once the money starts coming in and you're like, oh, we can make a profit off of this. This is where people start getting hungry.
Yeah, of course.
New Zealand is living in the future.
It's one of the, the least sort of, it's one of those places in the world that they're still living like we should live.
100%.
I mean? Off the land.
Very much off the land. 60 million sheep. The population of the sheep, there was another random fact that I found out.
More sheep than people in
5 million is the population of New Zealand. And then there's 60 million sheep. So each person has 20 sheep that they can have for themselves. And I'm just mind blown over this. Excuse me? What other country has more sheep than people? New Zealand, one of one. And it's just I can't compare it to anything else that I've seen. And it's one of those things where I'm do we share the same planet? How are we sharing the same planet? How do we live on Earth? And this exists.
Yeah.
And I think that their location is just so perfect because it's just so far.
Yeah.
From anywhere in the world, you need to commit to at least 10 hours.
It's like the first place to witness New Year's Eve or something like that. One of the
100%. 100%. They're living in the future. I had to go back to the past when I came back. But it was one of those moments where I'm I need to come back. I want, you need a month in New Zealand to see it.
You need to go to all the way up north. You need to go south.
Because everyone was you need to go south. I'm listen, I don't have the time right now. So I'm going to do as much as I can and locally. And I think I milked it. I did not.
Yeah.
I made the absolute most of my trip over there. But what my message is to you guys is first of all, don't wait for the perfect time. Don't wait for the group chat to agree to go somewhere. And my sister said this quote and I love it. Love music will travel. If your artist is in another country and it lines up with when you're off of work or you can take some time off, go watch them. Stop waiting for your favorite artist to come to you. You love this person enough, you love their music enough. Go to them. Travis Scott, I'm sorry, there are some songs that when I've been at my lowest, he's been there for me. And when I've been at my highest, he's also been there for me. So this concert was a lot. I really wanted to go see him live in concert. And mind you, warning to all, if you watch Travis Scott live, you'll never be able to listen to his music again because he's so much better live. The edited versions, okay, they're amazing. They're great. But now I miss the hype. When I'm in my car listening to him, he's the best, one of the best performers. He will connect to everyone and we feel his energy from the stage. It doesn't matter if you're in the top or right there in front of him, you're feeling his energy. He's a performer. So if you love music, travel and see your favorite artist. That is my biggest takeaway from this. And don't be afraid to do a solo trip. You learn so much about yourself. And you know what I've learned about myself? I like my company. I'm fun. I am fun to be around. I love the itineraries I come up with. I love the downtime I also have with myself. I just love who Adele is when no one's around. We always have two personalities. Who you really are one-on-one with yourself and then who you are outside in public. And I think it's really important to take the time to figure out, who are you? What do you like? What decisions do you make when no one's in the room with you? And that's what I get to do every time I'm on a solo trip. And I'm grateful for that time because it makes me rediscover and discover new things about myself. So if you're going back and forth about a solo trip, I don't know how much more I can tell you this. Go on the solo trip. Go live your life. Stop waiting for people to give you permission to go and live your life. Do what you want to do. Everyone was like, well, you went and saw Travis Scott. How random. I'm like, no, you don't know anything about me. You know, like you don't know how much I really love this artist. I'm not going to sit there and talk about it all day, but
And your opinion doesn't
really matter. And don't listen to people who try to talk down the locations you want to go to either, because if I had listened to people and all the stuff they said to me about Auckland, I would have canceled my flight. Like,
well, you would have missed so much more experiences
100%.
that a place would have shown you.
100%. Like, I gave Auckland the benefit of the doubt and it showed up. Like, honestly, don't sleep on Auckland, fam. Like, it's a beautiful place. And if you ever find yourself there, take the time to be there. Don't just be like, all right, this is just a one-off city. Let's go to the actual vacation. Explore it. It's beautiful. And people there, like we said, so nice, so welcoming, so chatty. And as a woman, I did not once feel that tingle or that sensation of I'm not safe. There's always someone around. People are in the streets most of the time, well lit. You're always in a crowd. There's always something to do and people are out. So as a place to go as like a solo traveler as a woman, couldn't recommend it more. Everyone's like, of course there's some parts you shouldn't go, but that's in every city.
Yeah, that's where I stayed.
Don't go where Khaled stayed. Hit me up if you need the DMs. Like, just go in the DMs.
Don't go to Mangere.
Go to Viaduct Harbor. That's a nice place to be.
Bloody viaduct.
It's beautiful.
Trying to sell me
It's not Sydney
just
Harbor.
like Sydney Harbour, bro.
It's not. It's not. Listen, I've been to Sydney Harbor. It's gorgeous. I can't compare.
Yeah, the viaduct's like Sydney Harbour, bro. I'm like, really? Okay.
Listen, this is the Sydney
There's
Harbor.
3 boats there, brother. I see more outside my window.
Twitching. Don't listen to this man. Don't not
No.
listen to this man.
I like Auckland.
This Aussie man trying to downsell New Zealand over here. But yeah, this is what I wanted to come back as my first episode. Really want to share this experience with you guys. Thank you so much, honestly, for asking the questions. I can't wait for this new season. We have so much coming for you guys. So stay tuned. Every episode is going to be dropping every Sunday. Keep growing, keep glowing, and I will see you guys next time.